Hi, it's Terry,
And Jen.
and thanks for joining us for coffee.
And water. It was too hot. I couldn't do it.
We wanted to mix it up today, do our coffee time with out in the wet and the beautiful sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and today,
Yeah, so I've been getting this question a lot. We have lots of clients and people interested in buying a home with a secondary unit so they could rent either both or live upstairs and rent the basement or vice versa. And so we really want to talk today about the steps of how to go about that and what that all means.
yeah. Well, sometimes you'll see a listing and it'll say in-law suite, and it's just like, and people ask us all the time, what does that mean, and
Is it legal?
Generally it means it's not legal. It means someone has put in a kitchen and a bedroom for a family member or just to rent out, and they're great. We had one, our first house in Lively, we had a in-law suite that we built
For 9 years.
Yeah, it paid our mortgage, so it's very tempting to do. And but now that the city a few years ago created a secondary suite category, and basically to make these suites legal,
Yeah, because people were doing it anyways, right?
Yeah,
So,
and people were doing it, and maybe not always doing it to code, So I think the city, and it was actually provincially mandated. One, because you want to make these secondary suites safe. Especially if it's in a residential neighborhood, they address parking. We don't want people parking on lawns. And also it's for new construction. We're actually seeing a lot of homes. I would say 1 in 5 homes being built right now have some kind of a secondary suite. So now there's provisions to do it legally, properly. Yeah.
Okay, so when somebody's looking at a listing and it says like R1-5 or R2, can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, in the past, R2 really, if someone wanted to put a second suite and do it legally, it had to be R2, or you had to, try and change the zoning if it was available. But now you can be in a residential, it could be beautiful homes all around, high-end homes, or any residential neighborhood. And if you have the specific criteria, you can put in a secondary suite. So the city, there's lots of criteria. We're not going to get into everything, but the main things are parking. You want to make sure that there's enough parking for more cars than a normal residential. Safety. Separation between the two units is one of the biggest, most important criteria, and that's really one of the main reasons they want to control it and have proper permits, is because they want to, if there's a fire downstairs, they want to protect the tenant upstairs or the person upstairs.
Again, no, we were talking a little bit about our kids all going away to university and having to, well, not all of them, but finding them a legal apartment for safety, because we want to make sure that they're safe, and that apartment that they're renting isn't just like a thrown together apartment.
Yeah, well,
and the safety's there.
Yeah, well, even like a regular duplex or triplex, they all need to be fire retrofit, meaning that there's separation between the units. There might be smoke alarms, or there will be smoke alarms. There might be sprinklers. It really depends on the size of the unit, and that was really one of the main reasons for the city to step in and to control the secondary suites, to have that separation. So when you are building a secondary suite, and you're going to go down to the building controls, and you're going to get an application and pay for the building permit. They're going to want a design of what you're doing, and again, we talked about parking. They want to make sure there's enough parking. The fire separation, so the drywalls, it's got to be fire rated drywall. If like in a utility room, if you're not able to put drywall, they'll tell you to put a sprinkler system, because you have a lot of pipes and stuff. You may not be able to put drywall up. Windows, they want to have, if there's only one exit, they want to have a second exit out of a
so somebody can get out of.
Yeah, so a window that's big enough basically to get out of. you don't need tools to get out of to open up the window. So it's got to be like an egress window. And laundry. They want to make sure that you've got laundry accessibility to laundry. And that's it's just a criteria.
Whether it's separate laundry or shared laundry,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So okay, so somebody sees a bungalow, 2 separate entrances. They're like, oh, this is going to be great. We'll live upstairs. They can, we'll rent the basement. So, they've got an offer on it, or they're going to place an offer. How do they know, or what steps would they take to make sure before it gets to an accepted offer that they're able to do that?
Well, I actually put in a specific clause that actually says for the buyer to determine at the buyer's own expense that they can put in a secondary suite, that it meets the criteria.
And so then who do they call?
Well, they got to get down to the city, call the building controls, and talk to someone. It's a little difficult now with COVID because you have to make an appointment. You can't just show up. So I would call, make an appointment, and talk to someone down at building services.
Is there a cost to that?
To talk to someone, no.
Yeah.
But once you make the application, that's when the cost comes in.
Okay, like permits.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And also, we have some resources. We have one client who's done 5 or 6 of them. So I actually text him when I have a question. He's pretty knowledgeable. So
Maybe we'll have to get him on.
Yeah, I think so. That's Steph and Mel. Yeah, they're pros now at it. So anyway, and then sometimes you'll see a in-law suite already, and it's like, well, how do I make that legal?
Yeah.
So and sometimes it's nice to have just an empty basement that you can just start from scratch and make it perfect. Just the way you want it.
Okay, so let's say somebody's selling their house and it says it's a duplex, right? They call it a duplex. Is it called a duplex because it's legal, or they're just calling it a duplex? How would you know if it's legal? Like, is there...
Well, that's when you make your offer, that's part of your due diligence and checking to see if it's a legal duplex. If it's got legal, if it's had a recent retrofit inspection, both electrical and fire inspection, someone may have done it 10 years ago, and the bank may not accept that. And a lot of the rules have tightened up a bit. So if you have a 10-year-old inspection, I would definitely recommend getting a new one, because things have changed, and who knows what changes that could have been made to the apartment. So you want to make sure it's current, and honestly, the bank will. They want to protect their investment, so we usually put current retrofit.
Yeah, because sometimes people call it duplex, but it's not legal.
Well, yeah, that's and that's you want to determine that, and sometimes people they think it's legal, but it's not, so the city could shut it down, and say you got to get a proper permit to make it a proper second unit.
Yeah, and if they shut it down, you're responsible for finding that tenant suitable accommodations.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's the thing. If you've got an illegal in-law suite, and your tenant, you've got a 1-year lease, and then a neighbor complains, or you've got an issue with the tenant, they call an inspector in, and the city could say that's not a legal apartment. You need to make it legal or vacate it. And if you got someone on a 1-year lease, you gotta find a place for them to live. So it's always best to for number one, for safety, to have a proper secondary suite, and make sure it meets all the the codes and the requirements, and fire safety and electrical safety, and then again, a lot of new construction. I say 1 in 5 new homes being built are being built with a secondary suite. So it's huge.
Yeah. Well, we found lots of great information on the city's website, but if you also have any questions about secondary units, legal duplexes, or anything about real estate, just send us an email at info@aimsteam.ca.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.